We all like to think of ourselves as unique. After all, our mothers wouldn't lie to us when they said we were special, right? Well, it turns out that some of us have unusual abilities that could set us even further apart from others. Take these 10 tests to prove your uniqueness and share your results with us in the comments. Here's the first test. Can you figure out how to be the first to know when the hub puts out a new video? If you guessed by clicking the subscribe button, you're right. Awesome job. The bait score. If you have hypermobile joints, it's likely you've been impressing your friends and worrying your parents for your whole life. Hypermobility of the joints occurs when the tissues holding the joints together are too loose. This is common in children since their connective tissues aren't all yet developed, but adults can have it as well. If you do, you know that you can extend your joints easily and painlessly beyond the normal range of motion. But how do you know if you have it? A simple test called the bait score can help you. Give yourself 1 point if you can place your palms on the ground while standing with your legs straight, another point for each elbow that bends backwards, and 1 point for every knee that can do the same. Award yourself 1 point for each thumb that can touch your forearm when bent backwards, and 1 point for each little finger that bends backwards beyond 90 degrees. If your bait score is 4 or more, it's likely you have hypermobile joints. Go ahead and give yourself an ultra-flexible pat on the back. Supertaster. As far as superpowers go, being a supertaster probably won't get you a seat on the Justice League. Since we all enjoy tasting delicious food, being a supertaster sounds like it would be great. However, supertasters find that many of our favorite foods are unbearably bitter. This is because supertasters have twice as many taste buds as the rest of us. Have you been annoying people with your finicky palate for as long as you can remember? You might just be a supertaster. Find out by performing this simple test. Use a 7mm hole punch to poke a hole in an index card. Then use a cotton swab to rub some blue food coloring onto your tongue. Look closely and you'll see that the food coloring shows up, but the papillae will remain pink. Place the hole on the paper over the part of your tongue that is dyed blue and press gently. Use a magnifying glass and a mirror to count how many papillae you have. If you counted 35 or more, congratulations, you're a supertaster. We'd offer you a drink to celebrate, but most supertasters don't enjoy the taste of alcohol. Supertasker. Not to be confused with a supertaster, a supertasker is someone who can perform multiple tasks at the same time. So many of us write good at multitasking on our resumes, but it turns out that only a small percentage of us are actually capable of multitasking. And the better you believe yourself to be at it, the worse you likely are. People who are supertaskers can not only do multiple things at the same time, their performance on each task can actually improve. Scientists believe that only 2% of people are supertaskers, and there's a test called the gatekeeper test you can take online to figure out if you're one of the elite few. There are 20 rounds and each takes about 90 seconds. It's harder than you think, and you don't get any feedback until your score at the end. Still want to try? Look up the gatekeeper test online and see how you do. Color blindness. Some form of color blindness occurs in 8% of men and 0.5% of women. Complete color blindness, the inability to see any colors, is incredibly rare and often comes with additional vision problems. While you are probably aware if you can't see any colors, many people have some degree of color blindness, but they simply don't realize it. The most common form of color blindness is red-green color blindness, followed by blue-yellow color blindness. There are simple tests to determine if you have a form of color blindness and let you know how mild or severe the issue is. Before starting the test, turn off any filters on your computer screen and remove any color filtering eyewear. Your aviators may look cool, but they'll mess up the results. Simply look at the dots and identify the number inside of the circle. What you can see, or what you don't see, can tell you a lot about how your eyes work. If it turns out you are colorblind, don't fret. It can actually have some advantages. People who are colorblind are better at finding objects or people who are camouflaged. They may also have a greater appreciation for colors they do see and recognize small details that many of us may miss. Tongue twister. We all learned in school that whether or not you can roll your tongue is a genetic trait. However, it turns out that fact is actually incorrect. If it was purely genetic, then identical twins would be able to either roll their tongues or not. And that isn't the case. There could be some genetic influence, but there is something else at play here that determines whether or not you're part of the tongue-rolling elite. Some scientists speculate it could have to do with the connective tissue in your mouth. This could also be the case with people who have a Gorlin sign. Gorlin sign is the ability to touch the tip of your tongue with your nose, and it's estimated that only 10% of the population can do this. It's common in people with connective tissue disorders, so if you passed that hypermobile test earlier, you have a way better chance of passing this one. It's as simple a test as you can get. Just stick out your tongue and apply it to the tip of your nose. Did it work? Super recognizer. Appearances can be deceiving is a very accurate statement, even when it comes to what we see with our own eyes. We know that eyewitness accounts can often be inaccurate, but we tell ourselves that we are just more observant than the average person. There's no way that we would make such a mistake, but it turns out we tend to overestimate just how closely we can pay attention to details, even on faces, something we see every day. Super recognizers are able to take in more details than the rest of us and excel at tests like the Cambridge Face Memory Test. This test is available online and shows different faces that get increasingly blurry and distorted. You then have to choose the correct face you saw from a number of similar faces. If you ace this test, you could just be a super recognizer. Ear wiggler. Are you able to wiggle your ears? It's estimated that only 10 to 20% of the population are able to do so, and there's some debate on whether or not it can be learned. Some people find it helpful to move their eyebrows at the same time, and others find they can only move their ears using this method. It's thought that ear movement may be a vestigial feature left over from our ancestors. So take a look in the mirror and see if you can wiggle your ears. We'll wait. Could you do it? It seems to come easily for some people more than others, meaning that there could be a link between your genes and your ability to move your ears. Licking your elbow. If you aren't able to lick your nose, maybe your elbow could be more within your grasp. A small percentage of people can actually lick their elbows with their tongues. It's common enough that the Guinness Book of World Records doesn't want to hear about it if you can, but it's uncommon enough that most of us aren't able to do this. To give yourself the best chance of accomplishing this feat, give your neck and arms a good stretch session to limber up. Wrap your arm around your chin to bring your elbow closer to your mouth, then stretch your neck and stick out your tongue. Are you one of the talented few who are able to connect their tongue to their elbow? If not, taking this test in the first place shows you have a unique sense of humor and you're not afraid to make yourself look a bit silly. Balance. Balance is important in life, literally and metaphorically. Our balance is determined by a number of factors, including visual cues. This is why it's so much more difficult to maintain our balance when our eyes are closed, as strange as it may seem. Your inner ear also helps out by keeping your central nervous system up to date about where your head is. Your spatial orientation, the mechanism in your nervous system that tells you where your body parts are, helps as well. To test your balance, stand barefoot on a hard surface and close your eyes. Bend one knee and lift that foot up. Time how long you're able to stand on just one leg. You can have a friend time you if you want to make sure it's accurate. Ideally, you want to maintain that position for at least 30 seconds. If your balance leaves something to be desired, don't worry. Simple exercises can help you improve this skill. Mental acuity. Riddles and brain teasers are a popular form of entertainment, but can they really reveal anything about us? Our brains are always looking to fill in gaps in our information, so many of us jump at the first answer that seems to make sense, rather than taking time to think things through. It's like our brains are set to autocomplete, and we have to manually enter the right words. These riddles are great examples of how this works. See if you can answer these questions. Johnny's mother has 3 children. The first child was named April, and the second was named May. What was the third child's name? Did you get that one right? The answer is Johnny. Your brain likely tried to fill in the blank by completing the pattern with the word June, instead of the correct answer, Johnny. A clerk at a butcher shop stands 5 feet 10 and wears size 13 shoes. What does he weigh? The answer is meat. If you manage to get these right, you might pay more attention to your surroundings than other people, which is a very rare talent. Did you discover anything new about yourself from taking these tests? Whether you're a supertaster, a supertasker, or just a super YouTube viewer, we're glad to have you here at the Hub. Thanks for letting us put your skills to the test with this video. We'll see you next time.